welcome back to Scared of Beautiful. As you can see from the title, this is a story time video and it's a very hard story. So just a little trigger warning for any viewers out there who've ever dealt with infant loss. That is what this story time video will be about. It's my own personal story of dealing with stillbirth and infant loss. I am going to try to get through this story with no tears, but I can't promise you, as it was a very emotional experience in my life. So I have my tissue ready to go, and I hope you all join me. And furthermore, I hope you learn some lessons from this story, if not for you, that you can share with someone else in your life. So in October of 2014, I found myself pregnant. I was 31 years old, and it was not a planned pregnancy. It was a little hard for me when I first found out, because I had only been with my son's father, my boyfriend at that time, for about 4 months. And I was not planning or anticipating getting pregnant. We had had some discussions around birth control and things like that. And unfortunately, those things failed. So just because of kind of my own standards and the things that I've gone through in life, I always wanted to be married when I had my children. I was raised by a single mother, so I wanted to give my child an opportunity to have a two-parent household that I did not have. My father has been active in my life, but he did not live in the home with me, and I wanted that for my children. Also, I am a Christian, and I just did not want to be pregnant outside of wedlock. So it took me a little while to adjust. At the same point in time, I've always wanted to be a mother. I was raised by a strong woman. I have aunts that are very strong women, cousins. So I know you can do it on your own. I just didn't ever really see that for myself. But I was also 31. I had finished school. I was in my career. And so for me, there were no other options other than to continue with my pregnancy. And as the months went on and I went to different appointments, I, of course, began to fall in love with my baby. I was hearing the heartbeat. It was strong. I was talking to some of my friends and family, trying to figure out, all the old wives' tales. Oh, the heartbeat is between this amount and this amount. And, are you carrying low or high? All these things, trying to figure out if it was a boy or a girl. Thankfully, I did not experience like a lot of morning sickness or things that you experience in your first trimester of pregnancy. I wasn't sick. I wasn't throwing up. I was able to go to work. The only thing that was happening was that I was tired. That baby was draining me for all of my energy. I was sleepy all of the time. And I just would want to come home, go to work, go to sleep, eat something, and that was it. At that point in my life, I also was studying to take another bar exam. So between trying to study, trying to work, and going to my appointments for my baby, that was all I did. Those who know me personally and those who have been following me on Instagram know that I love Mardi Gras. At that point in my life, I was living in New Orleans, and every Mardi Gras season since I went to New Orleans for college since 2002, I have been out there on the parade route, catching beads, catching shoes, catching purses at Nick's. And that year, I just couldn't do any parades. I was so tired all the time, right? So the time came where, we get to around the 5th month and we're going to the doctor for the sonogram appointment so we can determine the sex of this baby. So I decided that to further, get myself in the mood and ready to be a mommy, I wanted to create and come up with my own gender reveal. I worked in the court systems at that time, so my boss was a judge and she graciously let me use the courtroom. So I got to thinking about, okay, how am I going to do this Mardi Gras themed gender reveal? So I went around to all of the warehouses and Mardi Gras places where you would go and get beads and different throws for like if you were riding in a parade. So I got pink beads, I got blue beads, I got pink and blue feather boas, pink and blue masks, I got pink and blue plastic cups, just things that you would see at a Mardi Gras parade. I got on Etsy and I found a lady who made labels for baby bottles so that they would stay on the bottles when they go through a dishwasher, because I wanted to decorate my cups for all my people who are coming to my gender reveal. If it was a girl, her name was going to be Giselle. So the little pink cup said Crew of Giselle. And if it was a boy, the name was going to be Jace. So the blue cups said Crew of Jace. And I had such a fun coming up with all of these things because it was my way to partake in Carnival and Mardi Gras season since I hadn't been able to do a parade all season. Some of my friends from law school, some of my sorority sisters all came to support, my co-workers, my boss. And I went to my sonogram appointment and told the nurse to seal the results in an envelope. And the reveal part was going to be, of course, the Carnival and Mardi Gras favorite, king cake. So I went to Randazzo's, the world famous Randazzo bakery. I found some blue little babies, actually off of eBay, and I found some pink babies in one of the Mardi Gras stores, and I gave them a bag of pink or blue babies and told them to sprinkle a few throughout. If you know a king cake, you usually only have one baby that you find. I didn't have time to wait on people to find one baby. So I had them sprinkle them throughout, and that was the way we were going to have our big reveal at the gender reveal. So we're now in like mid-February. We have the gender reveal, and I was informed that I was going to be blessed with a bouncing baby boy. I was happy, It was one of the first times in my whole pregnancy where I was truly happy. I was excited. I am kind of traditional, so I always wanted my first child to be a boy, always with the thought that if I have a daughter, she would have a big brother to watch out for her. So I was excited. His name had already been chosen. As I said, it was Crew of Jace. So his name was Jace Plez, and his last name. And that was from his father wanted to do grandparents, right? So grandfather specifically. So his grandfather's name was J.C., as in like J.C. Chazé, just initials. It didn't stand for anything. It didn't mean anything. And I was like, I am not naming my baby initials. Like, that's not going to happen. And then his middle name was Plez, Plez. which is my father's name. I'm named after my father. So I was trying to figure out what I could do to come up with something other than JC. I was watching at that point in time, don't judge me, this reality TV show on VH1 by The Game, the rapper, and his real name is Jace. And so I was like, oh, Jace Plez. And my family was like, absolutely not. No, ma'am, you're not naming him Jace. So I went back to the drawing board, cut the O-N off of Jace, and we got to Jace. Jace. Nice, simple. He can spell it. He can get a job. Great. So I was happy. Then about 10 days later, actually about a week later, I started having really bad back pain late at night. I couldn't sleep. That's how bad the back pain was. No matter if I sat up, if I laid on one side, if I laid on my stomach, if I laid on my back, I couldn't get comfortable. And so I worked in the court system, and the staff was primarily female. So I would talk to them at work, and I'm like, y'all, I'm having really bad back pain. I don't know what's going on. And so they said, well, you know, when we were pregnant, anything that was wrong, we went to our doctor or called our doctor. So I called my doctor, and she was like, well, I am all booked up, but I have a spot on Friday with my nurse practitioner. And this was Friday, February 20th, 2015. So I went to the nurse practitioner. They did their exam. You know, they check your vitals. And the nurse could not find my blood pressure. She tried a few times with the manual cuff. And then finally, she just kind of wrote down some numbers. And then the nurse practitioner also asked me to do a urine sample. And at that point, I was kind of alarmed because my urine was leaning towards orange. And so they took the sample and looked at it, but they just said, oh, you know, we'll run this, but it won't come back until Monday. So just go home. You're dehydrated, right? They sent me home. Still having this horrible back pain, still having headaches at this point, but this is what they told me to do. So the next day I got up, and mind you, the next week I was supposed to be sitting for my next bar exam in a different state. And I was supposed to be studying. And so I kept telling myself, get up, you need to study. But I was just so lethargic. Like I had no energy. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to get up out of the bed. And I had never felt like that before. So I went to my boyfriend and I was like, you know, hey, I'm going to the hospital. Even if this is just dehydration, this isn't go home, rest, drink some water dehydration. This is, you may need some fluids dehydration. Something is wrong. So I went to the emergency room closest to me. They rushed me to the pregnancy portion and began taking vitals. And at that point, my blood pressure was 220 over 113. They did a catheter to take urine, and the urine was turning a bit reddish orange. And the nurse said, your urine is not supposed to be this color. I said, I know. It was orange yesterday at the doctor's office. So she rushed it all out. They ran a battery of tests. And I was just kind of sitting in the bed, dazed and confused, waiting. So the doctor comes back and he says, he just looks at me for a while. And then he says, you're not doing too well. And I was like, yeah, you know, blood pressure is through the roof. And so he just took a deep breath and he said, based on your test results, we think you have developed a condition called HELLP Syndrome. And I had never heard of HELLP Syndrome in my life. And that's why it's important for me to share this story, because there may be many pregnant women out there who have also never heard of HELLP syndrome, or women who may get pregnant one day. And so HELLP syndrome, HELLP, it is a condition that causes basically a liver and blood disorder. The H is for hemolysis. That means your red blood cells are breaking down. The EL is for elevated liver enzymes. That means your liver is out of whack, not functioning correctly. And the LP is for low platelets. That means the platelet counts of your blood are low. And platelets are what you need to, form blood clots and not just bleed out everywhere. So my body was in distress. And he said, we don't know what causes HELLP syndrome. Some people think it's a mix of the baby's blood and the mother's blood not going together. But it's only caused by pregnancy. Some people can have it after they deliver. Some have it prior to delivery. You have developed it very early. At that point, I was 23 weeks. And so he said, we will have to transport you by ambulance to the women's hospital. Your doctor is on call tonight, but I need you to wrap your head around the concept that you will likely have to deliver this baby now. And so I just laid there. I was in complete shock. I just thought I had back pain. I didn't see him saying that I would have to deliver my baby, and that labor would be induced. At that point, I was 23 weeks, is right between 5 to 6 months. So in a matter of 10 days, I went from celebrating my baby's gender reveal to knowing that I was not, my body wasn't accepting the pregnancy, and that I was in severe distress. When I made it to the next hospital from the ambulance, my doctor met me in the hallway, and she just said, I'm sorry this has happened to you, but this is not something where we can put you in the hospital on bed rest and you get to just stay on bed rest while we monitor you. With your numbers, you won't make it another week, and another week won't help you because he is too small to make it to NICU. Generally, they have to be around 25, 26, 27 weeks. I think the youngest is about 24, 25 weeks. But that, they were going to induce labor. But his lungs and everything would not be developed enough. He probably wouldn't take a breath. So he would be stillborn. And she just said they had no option. She was not going to let me die. And so we went off to another room to do another sonogram to check on where he was. I listened to his heartbeat for a last time. And they began the process of starting labor. This was on a Saturday night, February 21, 2015. And so they started this process of putting seaweed and all kind of things in my cervix to try to get me to dilate. That went on through Sunday. It still wasn't making a lot of progress. So by Monday morning, my doctor comes in and says, this is taking too long. We have to get, push forward. And so they gave me some more drugs, Pitocin specifically, to further my dilation. I also was asked to get a epidural because with the HELLP, my blood pressure, like I said, was through the roof. So they had me on a magnesium drip trying to get my blood pressure down. And every time I was having a contraction, my blood pressure was shooting up. So they wanted me to get an epidural. I didn't really want an epidural from the things that I knew about it. If I had been giving birth on a normal time, I probably wouldn't. But I let them convince me to get it, and we got it done. And that was Sunday. We went through Sunday with the C-week. Monday was when I got the Pitocin, February 23rd, 2015. And about 3 to 4 hours after getting the Pitocin and the epidural, my son was born. I asked my doctor if I had to see him, and she said that that was my choice. So I thought about it, and I went forward with holding my baby. And I'm glad I made that choice. I was able to hold him, to look at him and talk to him a little bit. And like, he was named after my father. I looked just like my father, and he looked just like my father. We have this furrow when we, are mad, or when our brows wrinkle up. And he already had that kind of ridge there. And, he was a fully formed baby. It just wasn't big enough and strong enough to go to NICU. So I am sharing this story, like I said, so that women can, one, know what HELLP syndrome is. Like I said, it's HELLP, hemolysis, elevated liver enzymes, and low platelets. Some symptoms, like the symptoms I had, were headaches, upper mid-back pain, which is from the liver being in distress. Some people have really bad nausea and vomiting. Some have lots of fluid retention and swelling. Malaise is another one that I experienced. And also, it is usually a byproduct of preeclampsia. And I struggled with high blood pressure pretty much the majority of my adulthood. That was something where my OB and my PCP went to bat against each other, because my PCP wanted me to continue blood pressure medicine in my pregnancy. My OBGYN did not want me to continue blood pressure medicine because she said that blood pressure medicines cause low birth weights in babies. I was 31, and this was my first time being pregnant, so I went with the counsel of my OB. I do feel like that was a mistake. And now I'm older and am able to know, going through this really made me realize the importance of doing your own research and possibly getting second opinions. There are blood pressure medicines out there that are safe for pregnant women. And sometimes when we are pregnant and we have other comorbidities or health conditions, you just have to balance it. So if my baby had been, 5 or 6 pounds, for me, that would have been better than not having him here at all. So I promised you all in my first video that a lot of my story times would come with a moral of the story. So for me, the moral of the story in this story, there are actually two. The first one is that I want women, particularly Black women, to be champions for your own health. From the blood pressure medication issue with my primary care versus my OBGYN, to going to the nurse practitioner the day before I was admitted to the hospital and being sent home, to actually, when I was finally admitted to the hospital, I had to be adamant that something isn't right. I had to keep being an advocate for myself because people were dismissing me. And unfortunately, that happens way too often in mothers, particularly. In the United States, we lose way too many women during the childbirth process, and we lose too many children and infants. So do your own research. Get a second opinion. Most importantly, speak up for yourself and make sure that your complaints are heard and that you are being taken seriously. It's your life. It's your baby's life. The second moral of the story was the whole time that I was in the hospital and going through this, completely in shock, I kept asking for the hospital chaplain. I don't know if she was out because it was the weekend or what, but she finally did come Monday, February the 23rd, 2015, shortly after Jace was born, after I had held him and given him back. And I had so much going through my mind, but I was happy that somebody was finally there to pray with me. And it was a little petite white lady, and she had never seen me before, right? And most times when somebody goes through like tragedy and stuff, people recite like the 23rd Psalms or something like that, right? And she came right to my bedside and she said, "We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that our sufferings, produce endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, whom He has given to us." She quoted Romans 5, verses 3 through 5. And that for about 10 years now have been one of my favorite passages from the Bible, because it teaches us that all things come from God, no matter if they're good or bad. And even when we suffer, it builds strength in us, it builds character in us, and it builds hope in us. And for me, that was God letting me know that even though I didn't understand anything I was going through, He was there with me. And He sent word to let me know that He was there. Excuse me. So, no matter what you go through, if you are a Christian like me and a believer, know that God will use whatever in your life to make you a better person, to make you more like Jesus in his sight and in his image. That experience made me more compassionate. It made me admire women more and the strength that we possess to bear children, because it's not easy. I had to go through the whole labor and delivery process for a baby that I knew would not make it. And my baby was fine. He was healthy. His heartbeat was strong, but I wasn't. So it was a hard thing to go through. It was a hard grieving process. But I know that it all happens for a reason. And that one day, in his own due time, God will bless me with the child and the family that I want. So this year marks 6 years since that happened. Last year on what would have been Jace's 5th birthday, I got a tattoo. Can't really see it, but I'll put a picture of it at the end. But it's a moon. February 23rd, 2015, the moon was in the waxing crescent phase. And then there's a little teddy bear with the blue crown, a little boy teddy bear sleeping there. And that's because my sister was planning a teddy bear themed birthday shower for me. And then I got the moon in purple and blue. Purple is for amethyst, because that's the birthstone for February. And blue for its just calming and tranquil properties. And it's kind of right here cradled in my arm, so that my baby is always with me. It was something to help ground me and calm my spirit, and also to remember my baby boy. And this video is to help women, hopefully. I hope you all learn from it. Share with your friends or relatives. If you ever are pregnant and you start experiencing some of these symptoms, you'll know what to look out for. And it's also to respect my son. So this is for Jace. Happy 6th birthday, baby. Bye, y'all.